Antoinette from the Art of Intuition. And today we are going to talk about what happens when we start quantum jumping through realities, what happens to everyone around us that is in our reality, and what is our perception of what is happening to them, and can they kind of jump with us. Now, there's a lot of different parts and pieces to this, so I'm going to do my best to kind of break out as many as I can of what starts to happen when we start to quantum jump and we start to move really quickly through realities, and the people who share those realities with us, what can start to happen, and why it is why we choose to do that. So quantum jumping, one, it is not something human consciousness can do. So if we're in our human consciousness, if we have not moved into our awakening, even in our awakening, I don't really feel like it's something we really gain access to until we get to certain parts of our ascension, where we're able to jump through realities. We're able to jump 4 and 5 years, and we might go through those 4 or 5 years in 4 or 5 months. You can also say you might jump, you can do something might take a year and you jump 7 years. You kind of go the dog year jump in a sense, or even the cat year, which I think is 9 years to one. But a lot of people will frame it more the dog year jump. You kind of jump 1 year and then you've actually gone through everything you went through in that 1 year. You would have done 7 years in your human consciousness to go through all those realities. How do we do that? Why do we do that? How do we get all that done? We try to finish up certain realities that are going to hamper what we're going to do later on. We're trying to jump the realities because we no longer feel the need and don't need the lesson to set in these realities for extended periods of time. You might look back on your human consciousness and see, well, I used to jump, I used to stay in a relationship I wasn't happy in, and I was in this relationship for 3 or 4 years. When you knew probably 3 or 4 months in, it wasn't one that was going to last, but because we can't see a way out, because we don't want to go to the next thing, we have a fear of the next thing, we wait for reality to kind of crash down around us. We kind of spend all our time in these realities. We spend all our time till we're out of time. When we can't stay any longer, because now our vibration and this reality are no longer in sync, and we have another reality we're supposed to go into. So we are out of time. So because we get out of time, realities crash down around us. Once we get to certain levels of consciousness in our ascension process, which I do separate out awakening and ascension. Awakening is sort of that gateway to pull us out of our human realities. And once you kind of get to fifth dimensional realities, we kind of then start our consciousness gets into fifth dimensional realities, not our body yet. We can start then ascending our consciousness and our body back to what people call the pure template. You will call it the bring your body back to its original template. You clear programming. Even after you finish full body ascension, you're still clearing programming, because until the collectives go through certain things, you cannot ever really be done with that. But it's an easier clearing in a lot of ways, because we can do it more energetically and do it quicker. So people will start to what they say is quantum jump. They start to say, okay, we're going to just jump into the realities that we want to experience. I don't want to trudge through 10 years of these realities anymore. So you kind of get, to me, it's like you have a skip list and you have a got-to-do list. There are some ones we can skip and collapse immediately, because we can look at the reality and go, it's no reason for me to go down there. I've already done that. I'm not going to participate in that whatsoever. I'm going to put that on my skip list. I'm not going to go in there. I'm not going to do it. Other realities, you will be shown by your universe that you have to do this one, but you don't have to do this one for 5 years, which might have been your original human template. You can go and do this one, but we might only stay in this, maybe it's 3 weeks, where we might have stayed in it for 3 years before. So we kind of will have a lot of stuff going on at one time. And the more stuff we have going on at one time, it's kind of the quicker we move through the reality. We learn to kind of get things done immediately. We can't let things set. And in the beginning, we do some of this will start happening to us because we become more proactive in what we're doing. We don't let things set. Everything we see, we do it. I don't let anything set. If I see I need to do it, I do it. I move on, because the next day I wake up in a new reality with new things I have to do. I can't allow things to set. Whereas before, in my human consciousness, I would procrastinate and let things set. And that's why everything takes so damn long. We are always the reason, and the slowness across space and time. We are the ones that slow it down. We are the reason everything takes so long. We are the reason when we start trying to manifest. It's a human word, but I'm going to use it here because I say it's human because there's a lot of manipulation in that word, in the manifest word. We're trying to bring certain things to us. And, for a while that works. And then for a while we start getting stuff we don't want again, because the densest stuff is what comes first. The densest realities, the ones closest to our human consciousness, the body consciousness, our frequency of our body, are the ones that are going to materialize first because they're closer to us. So the ones that are going to clear the fear, the ones that we don't want to happen, it was like, why do those happen first? Because it's closer to that frequency, the frequency we are giving off, and we say we don't want that to happen. They come in quicker. They don't need as much foundation, and when you get into your soul line realities, that tend to take longer to come in. So when we're procrastinating, when we're not doing what we see to get done, when we're setting in realities that we realize there's no reason to set in anymore, we are delaying things. So we start to jump quicker, and we'll start to see, I don't need to be in this thing forever. I understand where this is going. I understand it's going nowhere, but there is a purpose to be there. So there's some realities we kind of have to go through because there's a purpose for us to be in them. We're supposed to activate a certain person, we're supposed to see a certain person, we're supposed to meet a certain person. It might not come back for years later. We might see that person again. We might never see that person again. We might just be teeing up a reality to see that person again. And they might come back in 3 or 4 years later. Right now, we just have to make that connection. But because we're not procrastinating, going to that space we know we need to go to, or moving to that place we know we need to move to, or traveling on that vacation we know we need to go to, we just will do all these things very quickly. So in the beginning, when we start to quantum jump, we'll do it kind of unconsciously. We won't realize it's what we're doing. We just realize a lot of stuff is coming at us at one time to get finished. And then you might know later that, okay, you just did 2 years in 9 months, and then you can do the bigger jumps later on, where you might do 1 year and you might have done 7 years. Sometimes, like car batteries, you might just buy a car battery, and then 4 or 5 months later the car battery's dead, and in 4 or 5 months you've completed what you would have completed in 2 years in your human, if you were still in your human consciousness trying to complete these contracts to go through what you have to go through. You see fruit, well, a lot of people will tell me that fruit will just rot quicker. Milk will go bad, and then all of a sudden it's not bad, because in one reality you've gone to the store and bought new milk, and now your milk's fine, but 2 days ago your milk was, the milk was sour. So a lot of weird stuff starts to happen when we're quantum jumping. And one thing you might notice is that if you do have people in a human consciousness around you, and they have agreed because they are in that reality with you, they're kind of going along with the jump, and they're expediting their human template. And they might have no intention of ascending here. They might know they're going to, ascend in a different body later on. They have no intention of doing it here and in this body they're in. But they will kind of go with you, and they will jump with you, because that's still part of your agreement. We're going to all kind of go together in a sense, and you're helping them ascend to a point because it's getting them quicker to their end point, which that's going to sound maybe a little morbid, but you might have a 1 year jump, and you might notice that, boy, they might look like they've aged 7 years. And sometimes you might have a jump where you go to sleep and feel like you've aged like 2 or 3 years too. So you're going to find it can affect people in your reality, but it also just, you can see them in the reality they're in now with you, and not in the one you left before. So if you think about it like it's a version of them in the new reality you just jumped into, you might find they're a little more open to consciousness. You might find they're a little more open to, because their vibration has also raised, and they have kind of physically started to see the toll, even though they're not going through the reality the same way you are as far as getting all the stuff done to make the next jump. So it's not that they're not affected. They are affected, but they're kind of affected in a different way. but they also agreed to be there during this time. There's a reason why people leave us when they do, and they'll leave us because it's time for them to leave us. Them staying around starts to hold us back in what we have to do next. They will get to the end of their template, whereas before, let's say someone's going to be with you, and this can be that they just leave. They could, leave through death, or they can just leave your reality altogether. They might have said, okay, in my template, I'm staying here till I'm 55, right? And then all of a sudden they might be 51 and they're leaving because technically they've jumped to their 55 and it's time for them to go. So you kind of will start to see, when this stuff starts happening, it's kind of weird, and a lot of times we don't think about it right away. Like when you replace a car battery and it fails 3 months later, you go, "It's something wrong with the battery." There's nothing wrong with the battery. It's just we've escalated everything 2 years down the road. I just bought that washing machine and it just broke like a year later. It's supposed to last 7 years. We start to, at first, I'll say, okay, I'm just really hard on, I'm hard on electronics. A lot of times when your frequency gets to a certain point, you are hard on electronics. It takes a lot for electronics to keep up. You have to keep upgrading your electronics because your frequency gets to a point where it starts messing with the electronics. So there's a part of that in it, and there's a part that piece has aged so long because it has now jumped with you in a sense, but it's not jumping consciously, and it's not jumping. It's more of assisting the jump instead of jumping with you. I don't know really if there's a different way to say that. So there will be times when people will jump with you, but everyone has to kind of be at the same consciousness to do that, and that's really a juggling act because people have so many things going on. So when you're in the middle of a jump, and that's why people will also talk about speeding up their human existence, their human template. Like if you were going to live to, let's say in my human template, I'm going to live to 84. I might age up to where when I look in the mirror, look like I'm 84, and then you start to de-age again because you've kind of finished out that human template. You've finished out the things you had to finish out. You completed everything that had to be done, and all those extra kind of side quests, you just didn't do them because they were just really reinforcing your main quest, and you could start to see through them and see that there was no purpose in doing them. So you don't stay as long in realities. Some you just look at and go, never mind, I'm not even going to go open that door because that door leads nowhere. I know I've been through that door 8 times before. There's no reason to even go down that road. You might meet a person for, an hour, and instead of having a relationship with the person, that might be all you do because there's no purpose in continuing it. There's no purpose in dragging this on. No purpose in dragging out these realities. A lot of these realities will kind of start to drag, and we do not want to do that. We do not want to be in that drag. So it is important to know people come with us. Some of them come with us in the unconscious way. Contractually they know they're supposed to come with us, but they don't know consciously what's going on. So when you're in jumps, be respectful, be mindful of the people around you and how they're dealing with it, and be grateful for them for coming with you on this jump and supporting you in your jump. And then they are, going along and completing some of their stuff. But it's kind of a different twist on it. So I don't know if I want to bring any more in here. I think that's a lot to kind of get our head around. So when we start thinking about jumping, quantum jumping, and just moving at quantum rates through different realities, doing the ones that are more interconnected and leaving the side quests behind, you'll understand when it starts happening. So when the weird stuff starts happening and you start to notice things seem to be going quicker around you, and all of a sudden things that you thought would take a long time. Same thing with ending realities. We have this thing, it'll take months to get out of this job, and then it's done in a week. You're like, I thought that would drag on. There's no dragging on. Nothing. We don't allow anything to drag on. We don't resist. We don't resist the ending. And for a lot of us, that's a big part of when we first start quantum jumping. We don't resist the ending. We don't hold on 3 years to someone who left, or who went on with their human life and didn't want to come on this journey with us for a job that didn't need us there anymore because we completed what we were supposed to do energetically there. We don't hold on to trying to drag out these endings. We see the ending, we move on to the next thing. We resolve what we need to resolve, we grieve what we need to grieve, we move on to the next thing. There's a lot of quickness in that. And as you start to continue to do that, you will start to notice you just start jumping naturally, and you don't have to try to do it anymore. You know, you're not consciously looking at it and going, okay, no, 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 no. I don't want to do that one. I'm going to do that one. It becomes a more natural part of you, and you start to understand, okay, I'm jumping. Yeah, that person looks a lot older today than they did yesterday for a reason, because in this reality, they are older. And if I'm in my human reality, this would be going a different direction. Or even in the reality I was in yesterday, you're always in a different reality. Every moment of the day, technically, is a different reality. What happened 10 minutes ago didn't even happen in this moment, in this reality. So it's very quick. It's vibrational realities. They don't, you know, there are some realities that we go through that we feel like we kind of have to go through them. And then there's some we might enjoy going through. And you'll start to kind of feel that. Like there are some realities you might not want to do, but you know there's a lot of like clearing you have to do, a lot of program we have to drop. We're going to go through that reality. But we might trudge through it a little bit. And it might not be one we want to do, but we might know this one we have to do. Where there might be one that looks a little glitzier, that our human mind said, well, I'll just go do that one. But we see there's no purpose in that one. So let me trudge through this one, because this is the one I kind of got to get through to lead me to where I need to go to lead me to all the programming I need to be able to purge so I can get to the next reality. This one might look glitzy, but it's really no purpose in this one. Our human's going to want to go to the glitzy one. Sometimes we got to trudge through other ones. But if we trudge through them, and I'm going to say trudge because it can feel like that when we're clearing programming, because we're trudging through all of a muck to get through it, we know it's going to lead us. It's a quicker way through. You know, it's a quicker way to get to where we want to get to, because all that programming is what gets in our way. All that programming is what binds us to the old realities. It's not someone else that does that. It's us that does that. So, okay, I think that's been enough mind warping, and I'm going to leave it at that. Hopefully that stretched your mind a little bit, and keep practicing the art of intuition.